Welcome to Chips and Salsa, where we talk about security topics at Intel. I'm CRob.
And I'm Jerry.
Hey, Jerry, do you know what time it is?
I think I do.
It's Patch Tuesday.
Yes, it's Patch Tuesday, and today Intel, along with many others in the industry, is releasing 16 advisories addressing 41 vulnerabilities.
That's right. Through our continued commitment to finding and addressing security issues, 31 of them, or 76% of these issues, were addressed in the advisories, were found internally by Intel.
Yes, and we even divided these into three categories for our overview today: platform firmware advisories, other firmware advisories, and software advisories.
Sounds great. Let's jump into it, huh?
Yes, so in the platform firmware advisories category, we have 6 advisories addressing 18 vulnerabilities. 5 of these were part of the Intel platform update or IPU process. And you can find out more about that at the link below. This is a process through which we bundle platform-specific updates and engage our partner ecosystem, such as OEMs and independent BIOS vendors, in early validation testing of the updates across their product portfolios.
Yeah, it's a really extensive process of ecosystem enablement that we do 4 times a year, and it helps ensure that those who build systems on top of Intel platforms can release their updates to customers on the public disclosure day, which is today.
Yes, and first up is Intel SA 00601. This is the BIOS update. 9 of these issues have high CVSS scores. 7 of those high severity issues were found internally by Intel. All of the high severity CVEs may allow a privileged user to escalate privilege via local access. So see system manufacturer or BIOS vendor sites to find updates for your system, and we'll have a slide later on with a link to those pages.
Next, we have Intel SA 00613. This is the Intel Boot Guard and Intel TXT advisory. Inside this package is one CVE that addresses a high severity issue found internally by Intel. For client customers, our recommendation is to update to the latest version of CSME for your platform. This update updates the CPU debug feature by default. For server customers, we're not releasing SPS firmware updates. Rather, we're providing guidance on how to ensure physical access is secured and how to secure BMC access if the BMC has adjacent network JTAG access.
That's a lot to say. So yes, definitely have a look at that advisory. Intel SA 00614 is a SGX advisory that addresses one medium level CVE found by Intel that may result in information disclosure through physical probing of the JTAG interface. This issue is addressed as part of our current microcode update, which can be obtained from intel.com or through your system manufacturer. For SGX users, a TCB recovery will be performed, and because the update needs to be loaded through the BIOS or reboot is required. Some system manufacturers lock or disable the JTAG port on production systems by default, so customers should double check to see if that is the case on their systems, in which case they would not be vulnerable to this issue.
Next is Intel SA 00616. This is the Intel Xeon advisory. In this advisory, we're addressing 2 low-severity CVEs. One was found internally. Either could result in information disclosure or denial of service, and we're addressing this through a microcode update.
Yep, and Intel SA 00617. This is the Intel processor advisory. Here we have one internally found potential information disclosure vulnerability affecting client systems, and it's also addressed through a microcode update.
Mm-hmm. Then we have Intel SA 00586. This is the 3rd generation Intel Xeon Scalar processor advisory. With this advisory, there's one medium severity issue that may allow information disclosure affecting the Whitley platform. Our recommendation is to update these products to BIOS versions MR7 and later, and enable technologies that are used in the BIOS to detect early boot code authorization modification. A microcode update is also available.
Okay, now we're going to move on to other firmware advisories. Here we have 3 advisories addressing 15 CVEs. The first one, 00563, addresses 11 internally found CVEs in various Intel SSD products. So recommend that you look at the advisory for the list of products affected. 00595 fixes one internally found issue in our RealSense ID solution. That is the F450 technology. And then the last one there is 00654. That's a NUC firmware update addressing 3 CVEs that were reported through the Intel Bug Bounty program.
Nice. And now we have software advisories. This last category, there are 7 advisories addressing 9 vulnerabilities. Starting us off here is Intel SA 00519, the Intel Manageability Commander Advisory. This addresses 1 internally found medium severity vulnerability, and users should update the Intel Manageability Commander to version 2.2 or later. Now, for Intel SA 00549, users should update to in-band manageability version 2.13.0 or later. Then we have the Intel SA 00603 SGX Linux kernel driver update. In this advisory, there was a low severity vulnerability that could possibly allow denial of service, which was discovered by Intel, and it affects the Linux kernel driver for Intel SGX. We recommend that you update to the latest driver at the URL there on GitHub. Then we have Intel SA 00644, the Intel Killer Control Center advisory. We recommend customers update to version 2.4.3337.0 or later. Then is Intel SA 00648. This addresses 1 low severity issue. There is no update associated with advisory. Rather, we're providing guidance for developers to help mitigate this in software. Customers using Intel Advisor software, the Intel SA 00661, then you should update to version 7.6.0.37 or later. And finally, there is 1 medium severity issue in the Intel Extreme Tuning or XTU software that could allow an escalation of privilege by a lower privileged user on the system. We recommend updating to version 7.3.0.33 or later, and that is all documented inside SA 00663.
Well, CRob, that is the high-level overview of the advisories we released today. We encourage customers to check the advisories to see if their systems are impacted. And CRob, what is the best way for customers to get these updates?
That's an excellent question, Jerry. Most of these updates can be obtained through their system manufacturer, and we also have a page on Intel.com that links to most of the popular support sites.
Yes, many of our ecosystem partners have also released their own advisories in conjunction with ours today, so we encourage customers to review those as well.
Yes, indeed. I guess with that's a wrap for this episode of Chips and Salsa. It talked about our May Patch Tuesday updates. Thanks to all of the researchers who reported issues through the Intel Bug Bounty program, and thanks to our internal teams that worked very hard to put these updates out, and to our ecosystem partners who work very diligently alongside us to help protect our customers through these and all of our updates.
Yeah, thank you.
Have a great day.